Hi everyone. This is my response to the hashtag Tarottube. I was tagged by Julianne Victoria of Through the Peacock's Eyes. So, forgive me, it's taken a while to get to this. There's been a lot going on. First question: what made you start tarot YouTubing? That is a really good question. I rediscovered tarot after a really long break, and when I did, I'd quit reading tarot for a long time. It was never completely gone. I got rid of most of my decks, but not all of them, and it was never like all gone. But I hadn't picked up a deck or worked with cards really at all. For a very long time. I could say that there was a space of about 8 or 9 years where I just did nothing. Not nothing. I did very little. I was not working with cards regularly. And I was really unaware of like all of the new things that had come about as a result of tarot. Like the whole tarot renaissance kind of moment had completely passed me and I didn't know anything about it. And so I was listening to an interview with a guy whose name totally escapes me because I did not think this through carefully enough before I started. If I think of it, I'll put it in the box below and just say like, oh yeah, by the way, it was this person. But anyway, he'd created like a documentary about tarot and about them as archetype, and I had never encountered with that idea before. So when I was listening to him talk about each of the different majors and what happens, in those phases of the, of life when we're going through those phases in life, or we've encountered with them on the journey, that really shook me deeply. Because as much as I've read about different spiritual experiences and the way that those unfold, I did not realize the extent to which my own experience actually resembled the tarot. And I know that sounds crazy. I should have easily seen that right away. It's just that while all of it was really unfolding very deeply, I was immersed in Buddhism. And so I was not actually working actively with tarot at that time. To kind of discover that was a shock. Then to discover how many decks were out there and how many channels were out there was also a shock. And I was going through a lot of changes personally, like changes of life and changes of career. And it just fell into place. And someone in the community said, why don't you just start your own channel? You have a lot of ideas. You think of a lot of things. I was at that time hanging out on some lives that people were doing because I had the time, and yeah, it just came about. So I thought, well, why not? I'm gonna get some new decks. Maybe I'll just put that out there and see if anything happens, and I've got nothing to lose if nothing does. If nobody watches them, if nobody's interested, who cares? And on many levels, I still kind of have that perspective, and yet by the same token, I still like really feel pretty invested in the community and in what I do as part of it. So I guess, yeah, that's kind of all changed. So instead of kind of, it doesn't matter and I don't care if nobody ever watches it, now I have the awareness that people do watch, and that does change how I engage, I think. So it's kind of fun. Next question, number 2, what is the tarot scene like in your area? It's actually really lovely. Again, I don't know how that had completely passed me up and I didn't realize it, but I just hadn't spent any time in any New Age shops for a long time. Interestingly, though, like a lot of the folks in the New Age shops have no idea that there are so many indie decks and that there's so much out there going on. But Melissa Sanova lives in St. Louis, and so she runs a regular tarot meetup at a place called the Fortune Tellers Bar. I can't remember her name. There's the woman who runs the Fortune Teller Bar with her husband. Obviously, he's also very active in the local scene. We have it was actually Queen Osset sent me this in an email the other day. I don't know how I missed it here, but there's going to be like a big tarot meetup conference-y kind of thing happening. I guess it's not going to be that big. I think it's limited to 30 people, but Melissa and Amanda Bell and some of the others like locally are like pulling that together to happen in November. The Indie Deck Review website is run by folks that live locally in St. Louis. So it's actually pretty vibrant. That said, it's interesting because like not a lot of tarot readers come out of the woodwork to attend those meetups, which I find really sad. I would love to meet more of the people who live locally. So there's a lot going on, but I don't know that all of us really know to engage it. I don't know. So I don't know. So a goal I have over the next year is to really engage more and get to know people more who live locally and who are part of that community, because it's kind of pretty cool. 3, name an overrated tarot deck and an underrated tarot deck. So I thought about this one before getting on here to film this, and I actually had a hard time coming up with decks for that. I find that a really weird question. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't, the first thought I had was, is there really an overrated one? I could think of many that are underrated. That's an easy thing for me to do. But overrated? I mean, that's a matter of taste, I think. All of it's a matter of taste and exposure. Actually, I might just leave it there. I have some decks that I thought, yeah, I can put those out. I'll do it. I'll participate. I'll be a player. I'll be a team player here. Okay. So, most overrated. I'm sorry, guys. I love you. Don't be mad. I'm gonna say the Trionfi della Luna. And actually, I say that I don't think it's actually that overrated. Honestly, I really love Patrick Valenza's work. I just remember being like, "Ooh, Patrick Valenza! I hear so much about him." And I got the deck and I was kind of like, oh, okay. I was just like a little underwhelmed, more than I expected to be. Maybe. Another deck I would call overrated, and I don't have it to hand because it's leaving my collection, would be the Marshmallow Marseille. And I'm sorry, I loved it initially. I loved the idea of it, and the majors are stunning. It's just ended up being a deck that I don't find to be all that. It's a little overrated, maybe just a little. On the other hand, I know a lot of people who love it. Same with Trionfi della Luna Paradoxical. Actually, I really love this deck. It's not just, you'll notice it's not leaving my collection at all. An underrated deck, seriously underrated, I'm going to say, is the Polarcos Tarot by Carmen Sorrenti. I bought this back in May, and over the last few days, I've just felt suddenly like super duper, like hungry for it. And I haven't really worked with it all that much, but I'm getting to know it. I'm starting to work with it and bond with it and understand it better, and I'm completely in love with it. Just completely in love with it. I think the depth that she offers in this deck is really extraordinary. She has an incredible story to tell through the artwork, through a lot of her choices artistically and structurally within the deck. And yeah, it's way up there. And I think it's super, super underrated. I highly recommend this deck. So there we go. Next question. My phone shut off on me. Tarot in one word. Blueprint. Name 3 small tarot YouTube channels. So I'll name 3 that I really enjoy that are small. And one is Aquamarine 18. So if you have not seen her channel, it's wonderful. She's incredibly intelligent. If you like looking at some of the more social aspects that go along with tarot, you'll really enjoy her channel. I really enjoy her channel. I enjoy chatting with her. She's wonderful. Another that I really love is Practical Mystic Carol. She's had a really deep experience of working on herself. And so I feel like that comes across really powerfully in her videos and in her tarot work. So another channel I strongly recommend. And I'm going to throw in two of them as my third because I feel like these are two small tarot. One of them, well, okay, I'll just start here. One of them is Alvia, who is Inspiring Alien Creations, and she started this tag. I really enjoy her channel. Again, all of these are channels that I feel like I don't get to see enough of. I don't feel like I get to see enough of anybody's channels at the moment because I don't have the time for it. If I did have more time for it and I were going to get on there, I would be really watching and getting in deep on a lot of their content. And then the third person who, I mean, I'm not counting Alvia because she actually started this one, this hashtag. But the third would be Masha C, who used to be Musings by Masha. If you haven't seen her videos and her channel, she's absolutely delightful and she's kind. And I really enjoy that she looks at yoga and Eastern philosophy and Buddhism and brings that together with tarot. So I also recommend her very strongly. Your favorite, number 6, your favorite type of tarot video on YouTube. Honestly, I really like deep dives. I like it when creators really talk experientially about their work. I like it when people in the community come to the table with new ideas, new spreads, new findings, new insights. When people come, I mean, content that's a lot like my own, I guess. I mean, I will always enjoy content, from other tarot creators, but I really do enjoy when people take a deep dive into something that gives me a sense of how they think of the world and how they view the world, how they view the tarot, a little bit about what their own experience has been like, etc. I love that. Or how they understand, how do I put this? How tarot relates, or how they relate their own life and their own life experience and their work, even if their work has nothing to do with tarot, into the tarot. I don't see enough of that. I love that. There's a lot of magic stuff and witchy stuff out in the tarot community, but I don't see as much of the, just the ordinary person who really loves to tarot making videos about hey, these are all the things I do in my life and this is how tarot relates to it, or here are the connections that I make. I love that. Okay. Number 7, what would you A, think, B, say, and C, do if tarot suddenly didn't exist? I would probably think that The Handmaid's Tale had come to life and we were all suddenly living in that world, the name of which completely escapes me, probably on purpose because I find it to be like a nightmare and I fear it. I would think, oh no, that suddenly probably just happened. What would I say? Blessed be the fruit. And what would I do? I would probably begin very, very subtly reading other things. I'd probably start reading signs, reading feathers, reading leaves in the trees, reading animals, etc. I already do those things, but I know that I would then become uber dependent on reading those things and divining from life itself and from the things that I see and do every day rather than just from tarot. How's that? And I'd have to do that very quietly and internally and not write any of it down. Yes. Okay. 8. Do I use tarot apps? I do not. Um, 9, your favorite thing about the tarot community. The people, there's so many amazing people in the tarot community. And I love I love how diverse it actually is in terms of opinions, viewpoints, perspectives. Um, I really enjoy getting to know outliers and those who are not sort of in the popular crowd, um, because I find, I don't know. I mean, I think we do this in everyday life all the time. We have a lot of different things tend to boil down to the common, there's like a common denominator. So the way that plays out in the tarot community is that it's generally women, it's generally Rider-Waite-Smith based people who really love RWS, and then it becomes about sharing decks. I think that's fair. And what I really enjoy is when somebody diverts away from that somehow. So maybe their channel's a little bit less popular. Maybe maybe they're interested in examining Marseille. They're interested in examining Thoth. They're interested in, they're interested in looking at it from a completely different perspective. They're not from like white middle class culture. I'm just thinking of all the people I enjoy, watching. Yeah, they have something. I think what I love is finding out what people's differences are, and then how they bring those differences into the community, and then how it just kind of expands the way that I think. It changes how I think, it changes how I engage, and it makes me appreciate even more. So I also enjoy when people have a different religious background, i.e., in this case, because it tends, for whatever reason, that a lot of people in the tarot community are pagan. It's really exciting to me when somebody isn't. So if somebody actually practices another religious background, including one like my own, like Buddhism, that is also really exciting to me. I'm always interested in, why do Christian people want to come to the tarot? Because when I was a Christian, it was like that was the last thing on earth that I would have felt safe or comfortable doing. Yeah, so I love that. And I also love hearing from people of color. I love hearing from members of the LGBTQ plus community. I just like hearing different voices within the community. Find one and share. And of course, friends. Like, friends are great. I have a lot of wonderful friends here, and I love that part too. But it tends to be that those differences are the things that make the whole community sparkle to me. So, tarot video ideas is question number 10. That's not a question. Tarot video ideas, ! As an English teacher, that is not a question. That is an exclamation. What tarot video ideas do I have? I think I've just listed a lot of them actually, up to this point. Tell me all about how your life, like your everyday life, and your background in whatever work it is that you do, comes together with the tarot, and how. Where do you see that? How do you see that? Tell me how your spiritual experience can be almost like named by the tarot. Like, is there something, like, could you tell your experience through tarot cards? Like, tell us the story of it through tarot cards. I don't know. Tell me about, like, how you see things. How do you see a deck? How do you look at stuff? How do you approach your work with the tarot? Like, what kinds of ways do you engage it? Yeah, go deep. I want to hear the deep, dark stuff. Tell me about your weird experiences. I love hearing about people's weird experiences, and I always feel a little bit weird about sharing my weird experiences, but I'm also happy to do it. So if you want to hear about some weird stuff, I'm so up for telling about that now. Because the more I'm here, the less I seem to care what people think of me. I almost had a big, like, huge laugh, and every time I do that, I break into a coughing fit. That's just awful. So I forgive me for no more, like, not having more laughs to offer and share today. That's just kind of where it is. And then 11, who do I tag? I'm not sure how many people I'm supposed to tag, but I am going to tag. I'm not sure if all of these folks have been tagged or not. Maybe I'll name some people that I'm not sure have been tagged, and then I'll tag a few others. I'm going to tag Queen Osset from OyasGirl. And I'm going to tag Practical Mystic Carol. And I know that Aquamarine has already been tagged. So if we're going to choose a third person, I'm going to tag Shamanic Arawak Princess. So OyasGirl and Practical Mystic Carol and Shamanic Arawak Princess, you're it. All right, ladies, I love you. I hope everyone's well, and I really look forward to hearing more and seeing more of these tags and any deep dives that people care to share. All right, bye.